Hey everybody, welcome in. It's crazy what's going on right now. Just since I began this, I'm not even sharing my screen. Why not? Anyway, Bitcoin just shot through the roof. It's up like 1,000 points in a few minutes. So time for our love it pump. We haven't used this in a while. Anyway, I just want to thank those that are still cool in the space. Thank you for holding it together. 1% of my audience has completely lost it, so people are kind of freaking out. But I'm going to quell some fears and talk about some stuff. This is the weekly segment where we talk about all the stuff that you ask about. So the live weekly Q&A. We're going to cover where we are with crypto, Bitcoin, how I spotted a couple of things last week and how I did some trades, and talk about the Fed, the impact of the hike, inflation, expectations for Wednesday, and a whole bunch more. We'll also talk about some velociraptors too. So with that, let's jump in. There it is. I can't work without this. Okay, where are we? And we'll make sure the volume is working. Yes, it is. I think it is. Cool. Let's jump in. Not waste any more time. And make sure I've got too many screens open right now. Okay, math, money, and freedom. You guys know the drill. And this is edutainment, not financial advice. And I'll talk more about this at the very end. I don't give financial advice. I don't shill anything. I'm going to start off with a little comment. So a lot of people accuse me of being a Solana shill. Solana is technically my 7th biggest bag. And I've been so-called shilling Tesla all year since I started this channel. Not one person has ever accused me of being a Tesla shill, or a Google shill, or a MicroStrategy shill, or anything else. But I don't know what it is about Solana, but we'll see. Anyway, people who are disrespectful get blocked from the channel. We don't care about subscribers. We care about good quality people. That's all we care about. So let's go into the beginning. Sorry about that little rant. Steve H. Is there another big dip coming? And if so, do I save cash? If no, which one to layer into? Bitcoin, ETH, Sol, or MATIC? So it starts with an investment advice question. I'm going to lay out kind of what I see. First of all, how to prepare for a bigger dip is layer gently into the winners. And those of you who follow what I do, so I bought some Luna yesterday. I'll talk more about that later. I've been adding Chainlink as well because of some great TA and other metrics that I see. And I've been raising cash. I've cleaned up my closet at the end of the year. So that's, first of all, how I'm preparing. Second of all, there are a few different signs out there that could cause a little bit of consternation. One is everybody's freaking out about the Bitcoin Death Cross. But as usual, nobody knows how to measure a Death Cross. Sometimes people use EMAs. You can't. A Death Cross technically is defined as simple moving average. But I reckon it could hit January 15th. But even at that, 65% of the time, it matters. 35%, 40% of the time, it doesn't matter. So let's not be too concerned about the actual death cross as we go forward as well. Now let's talk about a couple of other things. Whoa, something screwed up. Hang on a second. I was talking about layering in and layering out. The slides got interrupted. Aha, here we are. All right. So getting back to that question. From the question. Sorry about that. Sometimes they get jumbled up. So layering in versus layering out, as I always talk about, I see 2022 as a flight to quality. The garbage will die. The stupidity of the Doges and the Shibas, you know, what was very big, and I don't do a lot of just venting right now. What was shocking to me in 2021 is understanding how easily people are fooled. And that was deeply disturbing. I had big plans to do a whole bunch of different stuff, but I discovered that most people are not, I got to deliver this very carefully. Some people shouldn't be investing in markets, okay? They read all the wrong signals and they don't know how to do it, and they don't have the discipline or the analytics to be able to do it properly. And this is very, very concerning. That was my big wake-up call in 2021, and that made me very, very conservative. So anyway, 2022, I see as the year when people start getting a little bit wiser and they start getting rid of crap, and the flight to quality move to good names that have real value propositions. The weaker chains will be shed, and we layer into stronger ones. And keep your dancing shoes on. everything changes all the time in this space. Right now, my big positions, I'm growing positions in Solana still, Luna, Phantom. I have hedges on my hedges. Buying Bitcoin as well. Ethereum, I stopped buying at $2,400. But that is still my second biggest crypto bag, as it turns out. So anyway, that's the layering in. The layering out part is, when do you layer out? I layer out when either one, a crypto I believe is close to a top. For example, per my price predictions, I saw tops in certain names and sold them. Or if I believe there is a better place to reallocate the capital, I jump on a faster horse. Or if I made 200 to 300% profit, take my initial money off the table. Or if they are clearly losers and I made a mistake in identifying them. So that's when you layer out. Now, when you layer in is when you find winning names. I believe Bitcoin, Luna, Solana, Phantom, maybe even Ethereum, if they can get themselves organized, will have a very good year this year. But names that are drastically oversold as well, with no downside, that's also what you layer into too. So it's multi-dimensional, and Chainlink is a good example of that as well. And sometimes even other good names can be picked up. So let's go back. The slides are a little bit out of order, so I have to make sure I get everything. That was from Steve H. All right. Now, next question is inflation reading. Okay, we're going straight to inflation right now. This is from Anonymous. Inflation reading is coming out next week. What do you think will happen, and where will this drive the markets, both crypto and equities? I had a lot of inflation questions, so this is kind of not just Anonymous, whoever that person is, but many others. So this is the lay of the land. I'm going to blow this up so you can see it. First of all, the Fed flipped markedly hawkish. We all knew that back in December. Check out my video from that. They have to control inflation. They don't give a shit about unemployment anymore. Inflation is the burning building. And as you know from this channel, we've been talking about that for a very, very long time. If they don't control inflation, everything else goes to pot. So that's it, first of all. Second of all, the other thing is manufactured number, which is the manufactured CPI number, will come out on Wednesday. I believe it'll be somewhere between 6.5% and 7.5%, but remember, it's not the reality. It's like more than double that. We may see a cut in quantitative easing, and also the intro of QT, which is quantitative tightening. So think of quantitative easing as being money printing, slowing that down, but also tightening, i.e. reducing the balance sheet. And if inflation surprises to the upside, it makes the case for Bitcoin. This is the complex piece, everybody. It's like a tightrope in a circus. If inflation is out of control, and I believe that will be a number over 7.1%, I think 7.1% is the expectation, we could really rattle the markets. But it also drives the case that Bitcoin is an inflation hedge, so it could be positive for Bitcoin. So that's the one angle, but it could also rattle markets, which would make people freak out. So net, high inflation, freak out. Low inflation means potentially less tightening, more calmness in the market. So there's no hard and fast answer because there's so many variables, and that's why Jerome Powell's job is so difficult. And he's been late over the last year in estimating exactly what's going to happen next. And who knows, he could be wrong again this time. So we'll see. Now, another interesting analysis. This is from John Capital. Net, this is the correlation between federal balance sheet contraction and Bitcoin price. All right. So remember, 2018 is right after the blow off top and after the halvening in that period of the cycle going into a bear market. So there's no surprise that there was a 70% contraction in Bitcoin price. At the same time, there was an 8.4% contraction in the balance sheet. So take that with a big grain of salt. But the rest of the time, if you look at this, we could wick down. A lot of people are talking about 30K. A lot of people are talking about 20K. A lot of people are talking about 12K. I think they're all full of crap. We could have wicked to 30K. But the thing is, I see buyers jumping in at 38 to 40. I mean, people who've been waiting, like me, a sniper, that's when you just get all your fiat and you just dump it into Bitcoin. And remember, the supply is very tight. So that's what I see happening. Not a big impact. I think a lot of it's already factored. We'll talk more about that in a minute too. So next question is from Brian, and I hope the slides are in sequence after this. So do we keep layering in or save cash for crash when Fed starts hiking interest rates? So I don't know what's coming next. Oh, it is. It's working. Good. So I do believe everything is already priced in. Okay. Jerome Powell sends very clear signals to the market. Much of the damage has been done. And if we look at the high PE stocks, technology stocks, they could continue to get hit. Think things like Zoom and others. But disruptive tech like Tesla, doesn't matter a damn. I mean, Tesla's, if you crunch the numbers on Tesla, it's the cheapest stock out there. Now, I'm already about 22% cash right now because I cleaned out my closet at the end of the year. And in 2022 as well, I was brutally focused, but I felt compelled to trade a little more than I normally do. And every time I stray from my methods, I don't do well. Okay? Anytime I get too busy or have too many holdings, I don't look after my herd very well. So this year in 2022, I'm going to be far more selective. I'm going to go in harder into fewer names and trade the time, pick the tops and pick the bottoms. And we'll talk more about where I missed an opportunity to sell the top after making over 1,000% gains in 4 weeks with Cleanspark. I was so busy, I missed getting out. Big mistake. And I am whipping myself every day for that, but we'll talk more about that later. So let's see. Next question from Paul H. I thought we were selling season, but you seem to be layering out of some and into others. Also, how did you know that Luna would revert to your original entry yesterday? Paul H. So this is kind of funny. The questions are getting really, really good, and you guys are kind of watching what I'm doing. So as again, I mentioned layering in versus layering out. We covered that already, but let's talk more about exactly where we are. Let me see. So let's talk about Luna specifically because we covered the first part. Now, as I mentioned before, I layer out of the losers, clean my closet, double down on the winners. That's always been what I do. And that's why I tend to have 3 big holdings of equities and 3 big holdings of crypto. And then I have some speculative ones, which are hedges on hedges in case anything does happen. So I am currently layering in, as I mentioned, Bitcoin, Luna, Solana, Phantom, and Chainlink. Now, let's look at the Luna trade. First of all, I got in, again, you can't catch them all, and I've got very strict discipline about how big my stable is for horses, and it's going to be even tighter this year, everybody. So just letting you guys know that out of the gate. I got in first at the very beginning of, I think it was December, at $60, and I'd been watching Luna go all the way up from $2, $4, whatever it was, and I missed it because I was in other things. But then as soon as it came back down to a reasonable level, and after digging into it, and I did my should I buy Luna, I was very bullish, but there's a lot of risk that comes along with it, but I'm still very bullish and still buying it. I entered again at 63 yesterday. Now, a lot of questions as to how I got that level and how I knew to wait to come back to get in. Well, first of all, it's like many assets. They're just volatile. They work in cycles. We'll talk more about the Tesla chart as well as we go forward. But this is the zoom in to answer your question, how I picked that 63 instead of 61 or 66. Well, basically, it was the max deviation from the point of control on the VPSV. That was my giveaway. I was watching this on the charts and I saw it. And that's when I pulled the trigger. By the way, I get a lot of questions. I buy Luna on Voyager. There's a link below. I think I get $20 or $25 per new customer that signs up, and they'll let money's donated to animals. So just if anybody cares, not selling, just if you want to, you can. But the max deviation from the point of control was there. It was also outside the Bollinger Bands. It was those combination of factors it's like, okay, we are real close to a bottom. And I think it went down about 70 cents, went about 62.30 yesterday. And that's when I grabbed some. And again, all my trade alerts are real time when I do them. So let me see. Next question from Anonymous. You sure nailed Chainlink in your trades and Ichimoku cloud video. That, by the way, that was my TA Tuesday video last Tuesday. Was that all done from one TA indicator from Anonymous? A lot of questions from people who are not giving the names, which is actually a very clever thing, by the way. Never share your public profile on the internet. It's dangerous. So let's talk about the Chainlink Find, what I saw. It was a number of factors, mainly the Ichimoku cloud. I've been digging into that for the last 6 months, and I analyzed over 100 equities, 100 cryptos, and trying to, back test it, see what works, see what doesn't. And Chainlink really popped out. It was hitting all the factors I look for, as I covered in my video. So check that video out if you missed it. I also look at the Bollinger Bands. They were kind of like my big ones for this. Also, what's interesting is Chainlink had a death cross. Notice Bitcoin had one, but it doesn't matter. Chainlink still went up. So this is an example where 35% of the time, death crosses do not matter. Now, the other things I look at as well are money flow, what funds are buying, derivative action, and exchange signals as a key indicator. And I get this from a subscription service that I pay for. So that's how I got the Chainlink Find. Again, you can't rely on TA alone. It's a good indicator. It's enough to pique your interest. Then you dig deeper and you look for other points of confluence to help you make your case as you go forward. So next question from Brian C. In the current climate, where do you see Chainlink going in the next 30 to 60 days? You've mentioned before that in a bear or bearish market, it does well. So good question. It seems we're getting a lot of questions regarding very specific items. So first of all, Chainlink was identified, as I mentioned before, primarily got my attention for the Ichimoku cloud. Also, I know it very well. I know it's extremely oversold, very undervalued. Boom. That's where we got that. The second part as well is, first of all, to answer your question, you can never, ever say where things are going in the next 30 to 60 days, especially with crypto, because it hinges on so many other factors out there. So if I was to say, well, in the next 30 days is going to do this, I'd be spewing bullshit. Now, that being said, what I am able to do for my two IA trade alerts on Chainlink, $20, and again the other day when it was beaten down, I can do a very good job of identifying tops and bottoms, but I don't know what time frame they hit, but I can see them when they get there. So I hope that works. And if you check out my TA video from Tuesday, you'll see it looks like a very bullish trend, but you don't know how long it's going to go on for. Somebody asked me a week ago, they had $1,000 and they needed to turn it into $2,000 to fly their father to come see them in Australia or somewhere like that. And they asked me, hey, I need to double my money in 2 weeks or a month or something. It's like, you can do that, but it's extremely difficult. All right. So again, when you are investing, if you think in terms of 30 or 60-day timeframes, you're setting yourself up for failure. Okay. Swing trading, my minimum play zone is about 90 days. That's when I can tell where the trend is going. But a short window like 30 to 60 is really, really hard. And long term, the more time you have, the easier it is to estimate where things are going. So I hope that helps. So next question. Is it too late to start a position in Tesla and Google? From CH. No, CH, this is the second question this guy answered. I'm not sure. Or gal. Let's talk about Tesla and Google. If you have a 3 to 5 year time frame, no problem. Okay. But why now? I've been talking about these names all year. It always stuns me when people wait to get in after a huge run. It's typical FOMO. Everybody, please try get in early. And again, as I mentioned in my little soapbox rant at the beginning, nobody's ever called me a Tesla shill, and that is by far my biggest bag. Unless you include Bitcoin and Bitcoin proxies, then it's kind of like maybe join first. I'm not sure. But anyway, that's enough of that. So let's look at the Tesla chart. So Tesla is a booking bronco. For those of you who aren't cowboys, that's a wild horse that bounces up and down a lot, I think. And Tesla cannot be tamed. So if you look at this chart, I kind of put in an impulse wave on the right-hand side and how it goes from being mean reverts down to what I call that ascending green line at the bottom. So I expected, after the explosion above $1,200, I expected Tesla to fall down between $850 and $950. It fell down to about $880. So it was pretty close. But that's what it does. It goes up, it goes down. It's a bit of good news, a bit of bad news, but it is under constant accumulation. And the price targets keep going up. And 2022 will be the most incredible year for this company. So much is happening. The new semi truck was launched for Pepsi Cola. Got the Cybertruck coming hopefully sometime this year. We're all waiting for ours. We have new factories opening. We have potential of FSD launching and a ton more with new battery technology, etc. I mean, it is crazy. They just increased the prices as well for FSD from 10,000 to 12,000. That is pure margin. Pure margin. So anyway, watch this space. If you were looking, though, to get into Tesla, try nail one of those down wicks where you get close to that mean reversion line. Get your trading view, set it up like this, and just wait. Wait like a hunter in the woods. Wait for it to follow one of these lines. We're kind of halfway through one of these cycles right now. And then a bit of good news will come and it'll pop right back up. Remember as well, with high volatility like this, it's very high premiums and options. And that makes it extremely lucrative to play kind of covered calls. Sell puts at the bottom, sell calls at the top. How easy is that? So let's talk about Google. Here, it's been a beast since 2020. And I also have this upward trend line, which is the green line there inside the Bollinger Band. And you can see the 4 little blue arrows. These are kind of like areas of weakness. And Google's very rarely weak. It's like a really good value stock that just goes up because the earnings continue to grow. And they haven't even monetized all of what they can monetize. So here, when people asked in the last couple of months when to get in, if you see anything near 2,400 or even 2,500, that's definitely the kill zone. And we are about $240 away from that right now. But again, think of Google as your real secure nest egg that you put away for 3 years, kind of like Bitcoin. It's not going to quadruple in the next 3 years, but it'll add 50, 60% per year, like clockwork. And that's just what it does, just chugs along and goes up. So hope that answers your question. So Eric, I want to buy a house, but I also want to continue to invest in crypto. Should I go even deeper into crypto or continue to save and purchase a house late next year? 28 years old and renting. So this is a tricky one right now. And it ties into, sorry, I said some mushroom coffee. It ties into the macro environment we're seeing. So everybody, I say this, everybody needs a castle. Here, typically, historically, between mid-November and mid-Feb is the best time to buy because people who are selling, they're desperate, but nobody's buying. So it's a great time to snag a deal if you can do it fast. But remember, nesting begins in March. Humans are like animals. They start building the nests, and that's when they start shopping, and that drives prices up. That being said, right now, we are facing maybe 3 25 basis point hikes, which could be through 0.75% interest increase. And that will have a big impact on mortgage prices. So if you are in a situation right now, you've got a high interest rate or something that's going to switch to variable, time to refi right now, everybody, before the rates go up. Lock in the rate. And also, when you're buying a house, buy more than you can afford. Always stretch yourself. Put as little as possible down. This goes for you, buddy. If you were looking to buy, try put 10%, maybe 15% down. Keep the rest invested. And finally, get an interest-only loan for a 10-year fixed rate if you can. Don't pay down your principal. I know traditional people will shoot me for saying that, but remember, the currency is debasing at 15% per year. The more you can borrow, let it be the melting ice cube, not the cash in your bank account. The debt, let that melt down. Don't rush to pay it back, okay? Real simple. And yes, everybody needs a castle, so I strongly urge you to try get one, but don't buy into a kind of a frothy bidding war. Try buy a fixer-upper, gradually build it up, fix it up yourself over 2 or 3 years. Buy a place with a shitty kitchen, shitty bathrooms, ugly exterior paint. Boom. These are all simple things to fix yourself. So that's that. So next question is from Graham K. Thoughts on Solana fork Velas, symbol VLX. I'm kind of looking at it from the distance for a long time, but it's weird. So Velas claims to be the world's fastest EVM blockchain that can do 75,000 transactions per second, TPS as we call it. And it's supposed to have the highest security out there. It's almost for free. So the way it kind of paints itself already makes me suspicious. Like it's the cheapest, it's the fastest, it's the best, blah, blah, blah. But one thing is missing is the EVM component. So it is an Ethereum virtual machine platform. So when I look at it, sometimes it does sound a little bit too good to be true. And sometimes when things are too good to be true, they are suspect. But the pros in terms of Velas is speed and transaction fees and finality are all very, very good. Inflation is 8%, but there's a lot of cons out there that I don't like. The chart is not that good. It is EVM based. It is supposedly a Polygon MATIC killer. It's hard to displace Polygon because they have such a well-entrenched position out there. There's no ecosystem to think of. There's few metrics available. And it's now pivoting to Sol, which means they weren't able to be that MATIC killer. So now they're trying to pin their hopes on Solana and make that happen. So there's also one other very scary thing: no maximum supply. So as far as I'm concerned, nope, that's a very quick disqualification. Now that doesn't mean it won't go up. That can always happen, but it's not something I put my money into. Too risky. Outside the top 100, that'd be a no for me. There's better places, safer places to put money. Think Chainlink, think Luna, think Phantom, think Solana. All safer. Think Bitcoin. So even Ethereum. Next question from Jack P. In case of a possible future currency crisis and bank runs, would it be wise to hold not just digital but physical assets like gold and silver coins? Ooh, interesting one. So hard money, yeah, it's good. So before I jump into this quick set of notes, I don't think bank run will happen in a Western country like the United States, okay? Unless things get really, really bleak. That could happen 5 to 10 years from now, but in the immediate term, no, I think we're going to be fine. However, a couple of gold or silver shekels or coins are handy to have in a safe in your house. I won't say what I do, but yeah, a couple is always good to have in case things go really bleak. And it's also just nice to have and look at and show your kids. Now think Palantir and Black Swan, caveman times. Yes, it's possible, highly unlikely, but they are stacking gold. And remember, it's just an emergency stash, not a big holding, so just enough to get you by for, say, 4 weeks if things really went dark. We're talking electricity goes out, you need to barter for food, no access to cash, etc. That's when a couple of coins could come in handy. Okay, so not trying to alarm anybody, just answering the question the way I see it. Okay, next question. Another one from another anonymous person. Should I hold Cleanspark? I'm down 47% since you recommended to buy. Thoughts for year-end 2022 for Cleanspark? This is where I'm going to rant again, everybody. Boom! Let's start off with a warning. I never recommend anyone to buy anything. I share what I see and what I do. Do your own freaking research, everybody. I never told anybody to buy anything ever. Second of all right, it is down 22% from when I made my video and when I got in. It was about $10.68. All right, it's not down 47%. If you snoozed on it, that's your problem, but you do your own research. So don't say it's down 47% from when I told you to buy it, because that's a lie. Now, the other thing is, after I did the video, it did shoot up 117% in 4 weeks, and my synthetic long went up over 1,000%. But remember, everybody, miners are a function of Bitcoin. Bitcoin is down 40% from its all-time highs. Hash rate is at an all-time high. It's a proxy. Understand, miners are a proxy for Bitcoin. They are not independent companies. So when Bitcoin tanks, miners tank. When hash rate goes through the roof, miners tank. All right? How many times have I have to explain that? And I don't recommend anybody buy anything. I just share what I do. Share what I see. That's it. Sorry for getting emotional. But don't accuse me of that stuff. I don't like that at all. And feel free to go to another channel. Get your investment advice somewhere else. Because I don't give that out. All right. So thank you. And the good news. Sorry for getting heated, everybody. Our staff member handles donations, is big into velociraptors. But we couldn't find any velociraptors to sponsor. So if you guys know of any any dinosaurs available, let us know. But she did find 2 other raptors, and they are the cutest owls, Winston and Oliver. And they were in need, and we pay for people to help support them and get them back on their legs so they can be re-released into the wild. So hope you like the content, everybody. I'm going to open up to a few quick questions here. Sorry for being firm today, but literally, we maybe have a situation where tourists float in, they watch one video, they watch it late. Apologies for getting heated. I don't give financial advice. I don't shill. I can't be bought. I am not biased. I just share exactly, honestly, what my portfolio looks like when I buy something, how much I buy it for, and when I sell it. Boom. All right, so let's go and grab some questions. A big thank you as well to the moderators and K8 for managing all the chats too. I'm going to read these slowly. All right. So from Sanad, hello. How did you react to Max Verstappen's win in Formula One? I couldn't believe Lewis got beaten in the last round. It took me 3 days to process the trauma. Wow, a non-financial question. So, all is fair in love and war, as they say. I blame the pit wall for not pitting Hamilton for better tires earlier. They should have done it at the first safety car immediately. And then, on fresh, soft rubber red tires, he could have overtaken Max Verstappen again. Worst case scenario, odds are he could have been in that in 12 seconds. But you know what? This guy won so many already, and it takes luck. And the gods pulled a miracle. And Max Verstappen is my second favorite driver. So, you know, when you have a team like that and you love both, you don't lose. So he deserves it. And he drove incredibly well. Crypto Creed. I'm holding HUD8 and Cleanspark, and they're down 30%. Do you think selling them at this loss and buying BRC at this point is a wise decision? I am not even sure what BRC is. However, I did sell my HUD8 when I cleaned out my closet at the end of the year. I'm still holding my synthetic long on as about a score contracts of that right now. Let me just check what BRC is. Brady Corporation, never heard of it. So no idea what BRC is. But again, mining is a cutthroat business. Never make it a big part of your portfolio. It's a proxy to play Bitcoin price. Some people believe some Bitcoin miners will perform better than Bitcoin, but you got to time it very carefully. And again, as I mentioned at the beginning, my mistake was not getting out of Cleanspark early enough. So I was just too busy trading. I was too focused on Tesla, which is a far, far larger position. It's probably more than 150, 200 times larger than my Cleanspark. So I pay attention to where my biggest holdings are, and that was my mistake. I won't make that mistake again. Remember, this is about a learning game too. Every time you make a mistake, know why you made it and make sure you don't repeat it. That is how you make money. And we all make mistakes. Kyle Brooks. BRC might be BTC, Crypto Creed. I think, yes, that would be the safer bet. But if Bitcoin rebounds, these things will double faster than Bitcoin will double. And, maybe, I don't know what to say. I think it's a coin toss between both of them. Kyle Brooks. What is a good validator to use on Phantom Wallet for Solana? I use Everstake for my Solana on Phantom Wallet. Easy question. Hope that helps. Again, pick the largest validator with the lowest fees. And then you should be safe. That's basically what I did. I also did some background into Everstake as well. Chad P, do you have a place where we can learn watch your portfolio so we can mimic? Yes. In a special community, I share elements of that, but I don't want anybody to mimic my portfolio. You should be able to draw the lines as to where I do play, and I disclose everything when I get into something, get out of it. But right now, I'm heavy. If you look at my equities, heavy Tesla, heavy Google, MicroStrategy, they're my top 3. And then I have elements of Square, Shopify, and a few other names. And my crypto, everybody should know what that is. It's Bitcoin first, Ethereum second. My Ethereum bag is 3.5 times larger than my Solana bag, everybody. And I will talk and slate Ethereum or Solana fairly and equally. As I mentioned in yesterday's video, I was concerned about the TVL and Solana going down. So there's that. And then I have fast-growing positions in Phantom, Luna, and Chainlink right now. But that could change at any time. I mean, if Chainlink hits $50, I will lighten the load for sure. So I hope that helps. Hell Sparrow. I think it is evident that the market still see Bitcoin as a reserve. What do you think it needs to happen to change that? I think this is a good question. It's very gradual, The world is still learning. Remember, 97.5% of the world thinks Bitcoin is terrifying, but you make money in the markets by getting into very, very pristine assets early. That's how you do it. So you got to be ahead. Now, it doesn't matter that they don't see it as a reserve yet. One of the big things holding a lot of institutions back from buying Bitcoin are the FASB accounting rules. They treat it like holding baseball cards. You know, if it goes down, you got to mark it down. You take a hit to your quarterly earnings. And that's what spooks people. But like the regulators, like the taxes, like the accounting standards, they all need to evolve. And they evolve very slowly, like governments. So that's where we are. But it'll come. And remember, when it does come, Bitcoin's going to go crazy. So Fizbin, a close friend who works in finance on the trading desk, thinks that biotech in general is due to pop. Do you agree? Looking at EIGR specifically, if you looked at my 36 2022 predictions, I said biotech is absolutely beaten to death and it will do very, very well. I do not know Eiger biopharmaceuticals, but I do know a lot of stuff is extremely beaten down. Invitae, Teladoc, CRISPR, Illumina to some extent, and many others. The people that have been doing well in the biotech space are the people that are making vaccines. But I'm not going to talk about that. So that's where it's definitely going to pop this year. It's definitely undervalued. And also, if you look at the acceleration of development and what they're actually building and how they're building it so close, it is it's definitely going to be a good year for biotech. And we're seeing clear signs of many of these names actually bottoming out right now. So Ozma, when digital assets go parabolic, would you move somewhere with more advantageous capital gain taxes? And if so, where would you move? Puerto Rico, Cayman Islands? That's a tricky one. I think, as I say, there'll come a time. Sometimes there are things that tie you down in a certain place for a certain time. But 5 years from now, I believe the world will be a lot more nomadic. I believe people will be a lot more based on what they call gig opportunities. They'll be working virtually on small projects. The days of kind of full-time employees, that's going to dwindle over time. And companies will hire contractors that they need them for gigs, for small little roles. And then once that happens, people will flock to where taxes are lowest, medical infrastructure is the best, medical healthcare, safety, security, weather, real estate, all that type of stuff. In talking to a number of friends who are now in Puerto Rico, prices have gone through the roof. Everybody's flocked there. But who knows? They could change the tax structure overnight. I mean, that was only put in place where there'd be no federal tax on capital gains not too long ago. But they do have local taxes. And Puerto Rico is far from perfect. So we'll see. Cayman Islands as well. I know people that lived in Bermuda for a long time. And you look at Bermuda, it's like the most beautiful paradise. But when you go to a place with like one good restaurant and one good bar, and you know everybody there is the same, and there's nowhere to go, it's like a prison. So I think it's good to not just be so focused on taxes. There's ways of managing taxes as well and working around that. So, but I do believe the world will be nomadic. My vision of the future was people will be much more like snowbirds, but maybe 3 or 4 times a year, which means they could live in a cold place like Canada, in Calgary in summertime, and then move to Costa Rica for 3 months, and then move to maybe Italy for 3 months, and maybe Singapore for 3 months. It all depends. That's the way I see the future going. People will be a lot more nomadic. Charles Kincannon, how to rotate among Bitcoin, ETH, Sol, Luna, etc. Yeah, you just look at where they are. Look at where the money is flowing. Look where the derivative action is, like I shared previously. How I found things like Chainlink. Look at where people are placing their bets, where the money is flowing. Look at the TA. And then you just rotate. Right now, I think people are getting really, really tired of hanging on to losers. And I sense that. And that's why sometimes people are very aggressive against other people. I mean, the level of hate is like there should be a fear and greed index and a hate index, and they're both correlated because the more fear there is, the more hate there is. So we'll see. Yeah, just watch the TA and rotate. I'm still, I'm shedding garbage, and that's hence the exit videos, but I'm still buying. stuff too, where I believe the money will actually go. And Luna could go completely insane. Check out my Should I Buy Luna video. High Def, still holding Rally? Nope, Rally's gone. Chili's, I think I've got a little bit of Chili's, like $500 worth somewhere. But that's it. Rally, I thought Rally would be a 30-day play, but the idea was to get in at, I think, 40 cents, I can't remember, and get out at 70, and it just got there within hours of jumping in. So it was interesting. But that's a classic example of when you know your exit before you enter. Key discipline. So if you buy something at 30 cents and you want to get out, you want to double your money real fast, set your limit order once you buy it and just let the markets dictate for you. And that's what happened there. I'm 99% sure that's what happened. I need to check. It was a couple of months ago. Troll Patrol. I need some Troll Patrol. Would you be interested in a weekly stream where you and all your viewers buy Bitcoin and move it into cold storage at the same time? That'd be interesting. I don't want to be liable or responsible for people doing self-custody because I've seen too many people screw up. It's a very tricky thing, and I'd hate to have a kind of like a cult-like seminar. It's like, okay, everybody, let's press the button now and let's move to our Trezor wallet or Ledger or whatever else. It's just too risky. I'd be afraid. And again, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, it's kind of an emotional video for me because I've seen people screw up so many times. I've seen people misinterpret signals. I've seen people buy calls when I'm selling calls because they didn't understand what I was doing. You know, like they're doing the complete reverse. So when I'm going short, they're going long and they get toasted because they got the word buy and sell confused. So this has been, my big wake up is, I try share what I do. I try educate where I can, help people attain financial freedom and make the world a better place. But I don't want to be responsible for people doing things like self-custody because so many people screw up. Antonio Schwalt, hobbyist ETH miner here. Are there any other projects worthy of potential participating in mining? Ravion Flux, Ergo. I think if I had to pick where I would mine today, I'd go straight to Helium. It's the easiest, best way to make money fast. So, Antonio, check out Helium mining. I'm not a miner, don't have the time. But if I had to, everything I've read and learned, Helium is the best ROI that you can do out there. Caligula, have you looked at Compass mining? At first glance, it seems like this is a disproportionate amount of risk to the customer who uses their mining services. Yeah, I don't believe in mining as a service. Anything like that, I think where you have a middleman, they take a huge chunk away from you. So I haven't looked deep, heard about it, but if it is, I think it is like mining as a service and you use their infrastructure, don't ever do it. They'll line their pockets before you, and not a good thing. And again, going back to the previous question, which is kind of coincidental, helium mining seems to be the easiest bang for the buck right now. Lynn B, with the state of the market, are you still using Bitcoin as a money market account for money you need in 6 to 12 months? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm still buying. I bought Bitcoin at 42K not too long ago because I know it's going up. So, and I'm willing to wait. So, absolutely. But it is important though. So if you look at my cash balance now, it is heavy, but it's designed to wait. If there is a huge negative reaction to the stock market, I'll be swooping in and buying things cheap. I'm looking for that big capitulation event if it's there. And I'm also going to be much more selective in what I buy this year and have far less. I've discovered that, like if you follow my Tesla trades over the past couple of months, the reward from being very, very focused and timing everything precisely is way more valuable than just having 20 different assets, which is just impossible to keep track of. Are you still holding the Solend token? This from Eric Irapatian. Yes, I am holding Solend. It has lost 50%. I bought the IDO. It's a piece of crap. I was a degen for about an hour, and I said I'd never do that again. So, I'm down about $1,500. But you know what? It's a very valuable lesson because for me, I know 1,500 might sound like a lot, but I do things to learn, and that $1,500 smack on the wrist will make me smarter. Don't buy IDOs. Just like I know not to buy IPOs. I said, well, everybody's talking to me about this Solana thing and everything else. But Solana could come back. It needs to break $1 billion in TVL for it to rebound. And I know incentives will be put in place to do this. I know they're working on some very exciting stuff. So I'm going to hold because I think it could go back to $10. So not financial advice, but it could take a year to get there. But they do have, the project is not perfectly run, and I didn't spend enough time looking at the team. And it was just, I did it more for myself to see if I could buy an IDO with the VPN and moving money around and swapping things in Radium and playing with the Phantom wallet and stuff like that. So we'll see. Thanks for your donation as well. Jeeves, haters gonna hate. Too bad they won't join us at Bora Bora Party. Exactly, good man. By the way, I finally have a layer out strategy. Good indeed. That's key. Remember, buying is important to selling, and we're all bad at selling. You have to be ruthless and unemotional to get out. It's easy to get in. It's very hard to get off the train. So that's the big lesson for today. Thank you, Jeeves, for saying that as well. MB Rolling, appreciate you too. Crypto in my pants, much love. Yes, team is awesome. Justice for all. Thanks to this community of awesome people. Such a great way to enter the new year. Somebody's mother. Many thanks to you and InvestAnswers team for the streams and all the hard work. Appreciate that too. And yes, we will find a way to take care of that suggestion in New Zealand for sure. I'll make sure we take a note of that. MT, Playing with Pastels, Raghunath Gadij, Sasha Lammers, Capono, Albany County Fasteners, Lux Chris, GT350, Kiwi Robin, Clark Silva. Kiwi Robin, thank you for all you do, sir, every day, including that scammer earlier. Tuesday's Dragon, Bat Pangolin, Power Privilege, Matsy, Desert Dog, Breakbeat Stew, Nippon, Serene, Abraxas, A Bottle of Red, Fast Timmy, 69 Elephants, Alan Tan, Dog One, Choose a Dragonfire, BT21, Jeff Hammer, good to see you again, and Fernando Enril, LO Crypto, Ozma, and KT. Appreciate everybody, and sorry for getting heated, but I just want people to know investing is a blood sport. You can't dabble. You can't be a tourist. If you are playing the game, you got to be extremely diligent. And, that's what we try and share here. Anyway, thank you all. Be safe. Happy Sunday.